Thank you very much. So I'm Barnaby Clark. I'm one of the founders of Planvine. And really, the idea behind Planvine is to tell you what's on. So it's a list of events that are happening across the UK. And basically, we crawl the web and extract events from thousands of different sites and turn them into a structured format. The data is currently being used in mobile apps, on websites, and on blogs. So the API is a REST API. It's a JSON REST API that we launched a few weeks ago. It's a really simple API, so I won't spend too long on it. But the first point to get going is to register for a key at our website. It's a really quick process, and the rate limits are per key. So I'd suggest you kind of grab your own key rather than using the one that's in the docs, because if everyone's using the same one, it might get limited. The main request, the main parts of the API, the basic one is to grab a list of events. It's just a straight GET request. It returns a JSON list of events. In the top, on every response, you'll get a little bit of metadata about the number of results, the number of what page you're on. We also return the start date and end date for the event query that you've passed in. So you can pass in date filters and things like that, and that will just confirm that it's passed those correctly for you, so you can check you're getting the right period back. We also have a venue endpoint, so you can do a search for a specific venue, and that's done by passing a latitude, longitude, a query for the name of that venue, or you can leave that blank, and then a distance, just a range distance of how big a range you want, with a max of a 1 kilometer range. And that will return a list of venues. You can then take any of the venues in that list and just get all of the events that are happening at that venue. And again, that just returns, same as the main query, that just returns a list of everything that's happening at that specific venue. We also have a category endpoint, so you can query for a list of categories, and then per category you can query events of that type. The main categories we cover, they're all on the website in the docs, but it's sort of music, film, food and drink, comedy, nightlife, classics, kids events, and arts. There's a couple more on the website, but those are the main ones. So each of the queries, whenever you're querying for event data, you can filter what events are brought back. So the first filter is you can filter by date. So you can either pass in a specific start date and an end date. And the important thing is that the date queries work. They filter for events that are taking place during that period of time, rather than events that necessarily started and ended on those dates. So if you're looking for everything that's happening this weekend in London, then you want to pass in the start date for this weekend and the end date for this weekend. But you might get events that started 2 weeks ago but are still running through the weekend. So it's everything that's available to go to this weekend. We also support a number of range queries. So if you just want to pass in the keyword range as a parameter, you can say, I want stuff for today, tomorrow, I want things for the weekend, Friday to next Sunday, next 7 days, next 30 days, and there's a few more keyword range queries that we'll pass on our end, and then we'll return what we passed as a start date and the end date in the metadata of the response. The other main filter that we put on the API is you can filter by region. So the main regions we cover at the moment are London, New York, Wales, and then some of the big cities across the UK. And we also have just a general, which is the UK, which will give you back everything that we have for the UK. And they can be added to, again, any of the event queries. So either the event, the category, or the venue search can take a range parameter. In terms of useful resources, if you want to work with the API, as I said, all the documentation is online, just planvine.com/developer. We have a Ruby wrapper that someone built for us, PatchFX, so thanks to them, that can be installed via Ruby gems. It's just a really basic wrapper around the API. We also have a Node.js wrapper, which I think is sort of in very, very early stages, but it's on GitHub and it's open source. In terms of what can be done with the API, so one of the biggest sites that's using it at the moment is the Manchester Evening News, one of the UK's largest regional newspapers, and their whole What's On section is powered through a backbone JavaScript app that runs directly off off our main API. So that's just an example. It gives people a list of events. They can query it by date, by category, etc. We also had a small internal project where, again, this is open source on GitHub, just in terms of trying to work out in London what parts of London were the best for film, sport, comedy. So we plotted all of our data for one day onto a graph and then color-coded it by category, and something that we've worked on internally. So there's visualization things that we can do around the data across the UK. Every event that comes back is obviously geotagged and with a latitude and longitude, so you can plot them and things like that. If you need any help at all with the API myself, you can send me an email or tweet. I'll be here for some of today, and then Sanj, who's over there, will be here for the whole of the event. And you can reach out to us on email or on Twitter, and we'll get back to you straight away. So that's us. Thank you very much. If there's any questions, then I'm happy to answer. Okay, great. Oh, sorry. Yes. Yeah, it's a response. So that's a URL on our site that is a responsive, but we also return the source URL as well. We've opened that up today, so you'll get the source back and you'll get the full description of the event as well. Sorry? Okay, I'll have a look. It should be. Okay. Yeah. Sorry? Just the type of data. So Eventful in the UK, you'll get a lot of the big venues. We try and get, so in Manchester, for example, we try and cover every local pubs. So we'll get very much higher volumes of content and venues that you'll get from us. Great.
Okay, let's hear it for Barnaby Jones. Barnaby Clark. Barnaby Jones. Barnaby Clark, Planvine. Thank you.